Okay, we will try this once more.
We're in 9 straight quarters of job losses in our community. It's most particularly located here in Multnomah County. We are 80 out of 81 communities in the country in terms of real estate investment attractiveness. And our consumer confidence, which is tracked sort of like a leading indicator for how people feel about the economy, we're last in the nation. And so these are not things that are good. And the reality of what it does, we see happen literally today or yesterday when they announced another major deficit on the city budget. As business activity declines, so do public coffers also shrink. We are in a juncture, and I want to get back to something Lisa said earlier today. We've got to have vision to execute on these plans, like what the mayor's talking about, what the city council and the county are engaged in. We have to take care of the basics, and while we're doing that, we have to acknowledge we're in an economic crisis as well. And if we don't have an economy and we don't have jobs, we will not have the resources to be able to do these things, and we'll be compelled to do things like raise parking rates, which infuriate people and lead to that ongoing negative perception that we have in our community. So it's time to also acknowledge that the economy matters, and it's in everyone's interest to have a thriving business ecosystem. And I would just point to what we're saying from Vanessa here. The taxes here are absurd. It's debilitating our economic growth. And while they may feel good and they're things that we may care about, we're going to have a hard conversation about the reality of the future of this community if we can't get these taxes reformed in a meaningful way and not wait and admire the problem, but do it as soon as possible.
One of the highest tax rates in the country.
Well, okay, so it was refreshing to hear some common sense from an Oregonian. I mean, I don't know if he's a native, but neither am I. But I did move here quite some time ago, and I saw things like I saw it evolve. Like when I first moved to Portland, it was like a little secret. Like no one knew how cool this place was, and that's why they made that TV show Portlandia, because it's like, oh my gosh, it's like like when I first moved to Portland, my family, my mom and my stepdad had moved, came up here to visit, and they're like, oh my god, it's like a time machine. We're in the 80s, everything's calm. There's no traffic. It's like it's all nice and pretty. And then the word got out more and more and more. And with internet and stuff like that, people could bring their companies here or whatever. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then more busy and kind of a hassle. Portland's had its ups and downs, like for instance, when I lived in a town called Beaverton, I went to a bar once, and I was talking to these girls that were next to me, and I was like, "Yeah, I went downtown just earlier today. There's some cool stuff going on." They're like, "You go downtown? Oh my god!" Like their parents told them like never to go downtown because it's dangerous. Well, it wasn't dangerous, at least for me, being from LA. I just didn't. It was like harmless compared to Los Angeles or something. Yeah, it was really nice. And eventually, I had moved to Portland, and because I made some money and and I found a really cheap place, and I kind of like could like almost I was trying to live like the slacker life. But the jobs were hard to get then too for people for the most part. Um, yeah, so ended up going back to the Beaverton side, and because there's like a lot of employment centers there, and so it's like you feel more secure because like you can get a job like down the street or something, like a good one really, and if you have like certain skills or qualifications or whatnot, be it office or tech or certain things, you could do that. And so in Portland, it kind of sucked because it was like all these people working like part-time jobs like as baristas, and they're living like 10 to a house, so it was like that. But it got worse because like after I left Portland, to move down here, because it's like I'm never gonna buy a house here. The prices just keep going up and up and up. So um I moved down here to Salem, and the like the situation in Portland. Like I spent like almost like a couple of years where I didn't even visit Portland. Just busy with stuff. And like I went back to see Iron Maiden, um, and I'm like, I don't recognize this town. Like I had my bus tickets that I had from Portland, and we were gonna like go to like all our old haunts on the way to Iron Maiden. None of them were. They're gone. They were gone. And I saw like random people on scooters and all these tents everywhere, and I'm like, what the hell happened to this town? It's like it was just bizarre. Like it's kind of like when you're a frog in a boiling pot, you don't notice, that kind of thing. But I wasn't in the pot, and then I went back into it. So, at the Iron Maiden concert, it was good. That was nice. That was like 2019, I think. And then, but yeah, Portland kind of went bad. And then when 2020 happened, I haven't been to Portland in a while because of that. But I think it's getting better. Like, I don't understand why T-Man is acting like it's a war zone. I don't think it is. I think it's a community that's in like just like this man says, it's in an economic distress. I don't consider it like a war zone because I know people that live there and they don't feel like it's a war zone. They just, they have differing views. A lot of them are like far left and stuff, and they just they don't like all the problems, but they need to have the conversation with this guy, like he's saying, because you do need to have jobs if you want, like opportunities for people that are growing up in that city to get a job, and so they can make income that can afford an apartment there. And they need to build a few, more apartments here and there. Um, they have this anti-sprawl law. It's interesting, but Portland has a lot of taxes, and so does my community. It's come down here too. That kind of mentality, because when I first moved here, I was sort of like perplexed to find out that like, okay, I pay a water bill, and it's like $120 or something like that. And then you start looking at the bill, and only like $20 of it is water. The rest of it is like fees and taxes. One of them is like a street light fee, this fee, that fee, tax this, tax that. It's a stealth property tax, in my opinion. So, they do that, and then they did that stupid stuff where they're now doing parking meters everywhere. When we used to have like just a couple years ago, or even 6 months ago, we had like parts of the town where you could park and not pay a parking fee as long as it was open. There was no need for a parking, like there was no parking meter. Now they're putting them like everywhere, and that causes problems beyond just the money you spend on the parking. It causes like this like weird anxiety, like, okay, I'm shopping, do I have to go back and put more money in, you know that kind of thing. So it's, I don't know how they, yeah, I don't, it's just weird. But I guess they could come up with some pass where you just, it doesn't make, yeah, it would have to get totalitarian where like it knows when you parked and when you left and charges you. Trust me, they think of this. Oregon wanted to, they were like one of the first states to want to charge people by the mile of how they drive their car. It's failed over and over, thank God, but they keep trying. There's been some draconian things that have been proposed in Oregon, but fortunately, there is like, where that guy lives, it's all like blue and stuff. When you get out of Portland, it changes quite a bit. So there's a lot of people that don't like any of this stuff. Problem is they're not in the major population centers, and they are a political minority. So yeah, it's what, I guess that's all I got to say about it. It's just that you know that's what's going on in Oregon, and this guy is spot on. That like, hey, like he doesn't have the answers. He's just saying we need to talk about it and how to be more business friendly a little bit. We don't have to like give up on everything, give up on all the social programs, but we won't be able to pay for them if we don't have an economy that can pay for them. Like that's because like I'm like basically socialist, but you can't have socialism without a free market economy to support it and letting people work and enjoy the fruits of their labor, have money to spend at a restaurant, save a little bit for themselves, just all the things that everybody wants. So yeah, good on this guy. I don't know what he does or what his business is, but he's talking some common sense. And I don't know, things might have just, like I said, I disagree with Trump about the war zone stuff, but economically it's bad enough that people might just start to listen to this kind of talk. And this is what we need instead of that's the problem with the Trump stuff with the bringing in the National Guard, because that's just going to make the left like get all like crazy and stuff and hate some guy like him and call him a Trumper even if he didn't even vote for him. Like that's that kind of stuff that happens. So but I will go ahead and say he was speaking common sense. No, I'm not a Trumper, but we need common sense and like to fix, these towns. And I don't want Salem to become Portland, and it slowly is. So it's like halfway there. Ugh. But all right, thanks.